going on, guys? I'm Mike Pouncey, former center for the Miami Dolphins. I'm here with Coach Fred and my brother Marquise Pouncey, former center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let you guys know that Twin P is official liquor, the Common Man Podcast. Bottoms up, Twin P, best. Gotta drink some more.
What's up? What's up? What's up? We are live. We are in here. Common Man Podcast, Holiday Rundown Edition, man. Just going to be on real quick as we get ready to talk about college football, as we get ready to talk about the college football playoffs, where we are right now in college football. Just a whole lot, man. We just trying to get in, get one at the end of the year, and hopefully be something that you guys can take into your day and to the rest of the new year. Wishing you nothing but the best. Hope your Christmas was great yesterday. As we wait on our guy to come in, you'll know the interviewee that we are going to have today, and we're just going to talk a little college football, man, from top to bottom. Just kind of see where his thought process is, where my thought process is, where your thought process is, and how it all kind of lines up, and where we are as we get ready to head to the off season in this thing called college football, the world of not just college football, the world of college athletics, and where we're standing at right now. Again, big thanks, big shout out to the sponsors, my guys over at Twin P Whiskey. Want to make sure that we thank them. You guys can look them up on their social medias as well. Twin P Whiskey, again, for another year of sponsorship. We can't say thank you enough for that. And we're going to continue to move on in that whole thing and just kind of see where we can take that brand and where we can take this brand as we are moving into 2026. Say that again. As we are moving into 2026. Not that long ago, man, it was pandemic. We didn't know what was going on. And now the pandemic, 2020, 2021 just seems so far away. It's like it's a whole nother world compared to what it was then. If you think about it, again, like I said, coming from, it seems like just yesterday, man, the pandemic was upon us. We didn't know what was going on. Nobody could leave their house or was supposed to be leaving their house. We were just kind of out there, so to speak. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know how to handle it. And we look back now and it's just like, man, that was a long time ago. We are right here at 2026 and, heading into 2026, hoping that we can all prosper, move forward in a positive manner, make an impact while impacting others. It's actually, a great feeling to think about what's to come. So, we talk about it daily on our motivations. If you get ready, you don't have to be ready. Or if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Whatever that saying is, you know what I'm saying? We're ready for it. We're ready, looking forward to the 2026 year that's coming. And it's one of those deals of where I don't know, uh, I don't know where the college football season will be by the time we get to it. Because it's an ever changing landscape every day within college football. Something different, something else is going on. It's just one of those deals where it's a ever changing deal. Don't know what the landscape will be by the time we get here. Uh, really don't know what the landscape will be by the time January gets here, which is in a couple days. So again, excited for change, looking forward to the change, looking forward to changes, because change is going to happen. It's one of those deals of where you have to be ready to embrace it. You have to be ready to change with it. I think the godfather of college football, as we've kind of made him. Nick Saban said, either you adapt or you become extinct. So, where are we at with that right now? Are we ready to adapt? Are we ready to become extinct? Where are we at with that as we go into 2026, into the college football uh, year? So again, it's one of those deals of where really excited about it. 2026 will kick off with a college football coaches convention in North Carolina. That first week, we'll still be playing, still be having college football games on that time of year as well. So looking forward to seeing, all my guys that I've, met along the way in this business as they are, will be at that convention and, just seeing what everybody else has to say about it. You know what I mean? It's a different world, different world. We are done with the HBCU college football season. Congratulations to South Carolina State on their national championship. Congratulations to Prairie View for making it there as well. Coach Barry, Coach Jackson, both of those guys, man, tip the hat to you guys for getting your team there, making it through the season. I don't know if people really understand or know how hard it is to win a championship. You got to have a lot of things go your way. And, those guys had a lot of things go their way. They continue on and they made it there and they made it to an exciting championship game. 4 overtimes. South Carolina State was able to hold on, outlast, however you want to put that. They were able to do that within that deal. So, again, congratulations to them, to both of those teams, both of those coaches on a heck of a year. And here we are to the offseason. We got the FCS National Championship game coming up here shortly. A familiar opponent in the game and one that's relatively new, unranked, showed up. We'll talk about that as well when our guest gets on. So, it's getting really exciting. Bowl season is upon us right now. Was just watching the Pinstripe Bowl with Clemson and Penn State, who fought through and basically got themselves bowl eligible. So, again, height of NFL football, some must-win games for some teams today to keep their playoff hopes alive. So, football's at its height, but it's also on the way down as far as the seasons are wrapping up and we'll be there. But without further ado, from time to time we do this. Um, Although we have a show together, we work together, host, co-host, and from time to time, man, just like to interview him, sharpen my skills a little bit as he brought me to the business, getting more comfortable with doing this as we move forward. So, this is my chance to pick his brain. This is my chance to give him an opportunity to just be a guest, and not have to be the hostess with the mostest. So, without further ado, let's bring on my guy, Zach McKinnell, aka the Blue Bloods.
What's good, man?
What's up, B? How you living?
Man, doing good, doing good. I can't complain, man.
Man, how was the holidays?
Man, it was good. It was good. Nice little relaxing moment, man, before we ramp it up. Really starting today, man, for the FCS National Championship next weekend. Myself, you, Timothy, even our guy Gerald's gonna make a trip over there to
Okay.
Nashville, man, for the FCS National Championship, man. I can't wait.
And when is that?
Uh, so the game will officially be Monday, January 5th. The media stuff starts, I think, that Saturday. They'll crown the Walter Payton, the Butt Buchanan Award winners on Saturday night at the FCS Awards banquet. And then man, we just spending the weekend in Nashville, man, getting ready for the big game on Monday night.
Hey, make sure all our guys, man, remember now, I don't know where y'all got to find it, but make sure we got the table lined up with all kinds of tacos. Rev, I'm expecting you to be in the building, Rev. Uh, I'm expecting my guys from North Dakota. I'm expecting my guys from South Dakota. I'm expecting my guys from Idaho. I'm expecting all my guys to be there. So make sure we got the table lined up with all the assorted array of tacos as we've done in the past.
It's been a while, man, since one of their teams hasn't been represented in the game. I mean, first year since what? I think 2016 that one of the Dakota State schools haven't been represented in the national championship. So a little bit of a weirder year for them, right? They'll have to they get to go down there with no stress this time, coach. So I think they'll be I don't as much fun as they'll miss out watching their team win a potential national championship. Maybe they'll have a little bit more fun, be able to get to relax a little bit, coach, rather than stressing about their team on Monday night.
And I think it will make for a better taco night. Um, they'll be able to let their hair down a little bit farther this
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean? Well, man, let's get into the quick rundown we got, man. College football playoffs are here, man. What's your thoughts, man? How are you? How are you enjoying that? I know you got a lot going on between the FCS and FBS, man. But the college football playoffs, round one done, heading into round two, man. How you? What's your thoughts? How you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, nothing really too surprising in the first round. I thought it played out, I mean, pretty similarly to how everyone kind of thought. I mean, obviously that Oklahoma Alabama game was going to be kind of the headliner, and then obviously I don't know about you, I'm really not surprised that Texas A&M found a way not to make it through to the next round, losing there at home to Miami. But I mean, I think it ramps up this round. Like you look at all four games, and I mean, outside of maybe Georgia, Ole Miss, just because I mean Georgia handled them pretty thoroughly in the regular season, and then you add on top of that Ole Miss not having Lane Kiffin, I think that game potentially could get out of hand again. But I look at all the other 3, man, and I think you can make an argument they could go either way. I still think Ohio State probably has a really, really good shot there. I really do think it's that Ohio State-Georgia matchup that's going to that's the path in that bottom side of the bracket to get to the national championship. Those have been 2 of the most complete teams all year. Georgia's clicking at the right time, and it's hard to
Mhm.
convince me you want another coach other than Kirby Smart on your sideline when it comes to winning championships. But that top side of the bracket, man, you want to talk about some chaos. I mean, you could talk me into Texas Tech, you could talk me into Oregon, you could talk me into Bama, who's peaking at the right time, and you definitely could talk me into Indiana with Kurt Signetti and the amazing coaching job that he's done. I mean, arguably one of the greatest coaching jobs and turnarounds in college football history, if not the greatest. And I don't know if that's necessarily debatable to some people. So I think I'm really looking at those top 2 games with Oregon, Texas Tech, and Bama, Indiana is like really the 2 that I'm most interested in to see how it turns out, because the winner of either of the winner of both of those games is going to have a really, really good shot to get to the national championship this year.
And it's funny you bring that up, and I circled it on the rundown, and we'll get back to when we're talking about Indiana and the whole nine. But being a an FCS guy, uh, and James Madison recently making the leap from FCS, man. What were your thoughts on them and the fact that they got in? And we're just gonna focus on them because they're FCS, and you know you've seen them, you've covered them several years before. You know they made the move. What were your thoughts on them and the fact that they got in?
I mean, I okay. I think there's 2 different things. I think on one hand, man, what an impressive build for this program, right? Like we're just a handful of we talk about the last team to make the national championship, like the last year that one of the Dakota States wasn't recognized. That was the year James Madison won the national title. They beat Youngstown State that year back in 2016. And they've kind of been right there on the precipice all the way through their run with the FCS to out, running into a North Dakota State every once in a while, running into whoever wins the national championship each year. But man, for them to move up and be here so quickly, coach, like year one, compete for the conference title and have a chance to go play for a bowl game. Like this program has everything clicking. And I thought it was big for that program just to get the experience of being on this stage, being in the college football playoff. And I don't think many people would have had an issue with James Madison getting in if Tulane also didn't get in. Just I think it was that 2 G5 effect, and then on top of that too, you had the weird outlier of Notre Dame not getting in, which is such a brand, which is such a national power historically. If you replace Notre Dame not getting in with Missouri not getting in, I don't even think this is really a
Argument.
strong of
Yeah.
a conversation here. And I do think there's an argument that, should there have been two G5 teams in there? Whatever. Like, I get the argument because even with James Madison performing at such a high level, coach, the difference between them and Oregon is greater than the difference between them and South Dakota State or North Dakota State. They're still closer to FCS as a program compared to FBS or P4. But at the same time, I don't know how you can make an argument that the ACC champ deserved to get in. If you remember, Duke lost to Tulane earlier this season. So
Right.
you can't really make the argument that the ACC champ should be in. And at the end of the day, the College Football Playoff Committee has warned Notre Dame repeatedly, if you don't join a conference, you don't get an auto bid. Well, that's cool. It's kind of like the SWAC FCS Playoff Celebration Bowl debate. If you prioritize the money of being independent, then be independent. No one faults you for that. But you also can't have the perks on the other side of
If it's
getting a
close.
conference auto bid, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to pick one, and they chose the money, which is fine, and they chose the independence, which is fine. But you on the back end, you can't complain when you don't get into the playoffs when you lose two of your biggest out of conference games of the year in Texas A&M and Miami.
Yeah, and both of those teams were in. And it was perfect that you brought up the selection committee because that's how we were going to kind of flow through this. Um, do you think they need to tweak some of that? And here's why I say, when you talk about the difference between a James Madison and the Oregon, and then the difference between James Madison and say a North Dakota State or whatever, we know the difference between James Madison and Oregon. Uh, and it may not be just position by position, but I want everybody to understand there's a money side of it that they're nowhere near in the playing field of Oregon, right? And I get it, none of the G5s are supposedly, but and I don't want to take it somewhere just yet, but do you think they need to have a sit down and tweak that process as far as how you actually get into the playoffs?
I mean, the only option that you could really have with the amount of teams you let in is the only really tweak you can make is no auto bids. But then are the SEC and Big Ten going to sign off on that? Probably not. Because what happens if you have a year in the SEC where you get cannibalized and then you do have a handful of really good teams not get in? Or like with the ACC this year, I bet you they still kind of hope they have an auto bid in the future because of what happened this year, right? Because they probably don't get any teams in the future either. So I don't see those P4 conferences signing off on the no auto bid thing. Now, the real question is, do you lock out the G5s? And I think that becomes a really, really slippery slope there because if you keep them out, you take away the funding of the college football playoff, right? Because they get big payouts for not just participating in the playoffs, but people don't understand this. Like the conferences that are eligible get payouts from the CFP anyway, and it funds a lot of these G5 conferences. If you lock them out, do those conferences still get that money? And if not, how do those programs subsidize other ways to make money? I I don't know what the answer to that is, coach, but I like it how it is now. You get the top 5 conference champions, and then you get all the rest at large, and it should be pretty simple that way. And it's funny, like when we started with 4, everyone was talking about, well, man, the debate between 12 and 13 isn't going to be as strong as 4 and 5. And it's like you're finding out that the debate is still there.
Yes, it's
And the
strong.
next thing they're going to do is probably expand it to what, 16? And then they're probably going to expand it. Like we have a model that works in the FCS playoffs, put it at 24, let all your conference champions get in, and then fill the rest with the large spots.
Which we have an at large playing in the championship game.
Yep, we do. And it was unseated at large at that too. So I mean, now Cinderella stories are very rare in college football, especially when we get to this point. But they still can happen, and upsets still happen late in the year, just like they do in the regular season. So I will say, I don't think the argument of, oh, we'll never see a Cinderella team happen in college football is a valid excuse to lock out the G5. Like that seems like a lazy argument in my opinion.
And again, you're hitting everything. And ladies and gentlemen, we didn't discuss the rundown. I wrote the rundown completely. I didn't send it to him. I just wanted to shoot him, see him catch and then shoot it back. And that's what he's doing. That's how good my co-host, my host is, man. So, but anyway, uh, when we're talking about that, like you said, the FCS, and I'll get right into that part because you flew right in it. Uh, for the chip, does the shoe stay on, or is this, or is the gig up for Illinois State? Is the shoe, does the shoe stay on, or is this done for them?
I think they're gonna have a better shot than some people expect. The line has continued to balloon. I don't know what it is as we're talking. I think the last time I saw it, it was like 10 and a half, 11 and a half, somewhere there. Started at about 8 or 9. I a lot of the money is going to probably go on Montana State, and rightfully so, right? They're the number 2 seed. They're on a long winning streak. They've knocked off a ton of really, really good teams. They were there last year, coach. Me and you watched them come within a play of knocking off North Dakota State last year. This feels like this has been building for their moment. But if you remember Illinois State last time they were here, they went on a miraculous run, got to the national championship, and lost to North Dakota State by I think 2 points in that game. That they're going to be ready, man. They're a senior laden team. They have a true NFL wide receiver who I think could be maybe a better all around receiver than Bryce Lance, which is a lot to say. I think Bryce is more athletic and has a higher athletic profile in the league. But when you talk about route running, size, ability to win one-on-ones, be able to play different alignments in an offense. I think Daniel Sopkowitz checks all those boxes, maybe even more than a Bryce Lance. So I'm excited to see what he does. They have and coach, they have a team that is stuck together and played together through it all. I think out of their significant contributors, which are guys that played 200 plus snaps, I think 16 of them are seniors. It's a lot of seniors, man. On the flip side, I think Montana still has about 8 seniors. Like they're very young. I think 13 sophomores are significant contributors for Montana State, including 8 freshmen, which is unbelievable that they've made it this far. So I think they're going to have a chance, coach. But I was still right now, I haven't made my official prediction, but I would lean Montana State just because I think they're the more complete team. But man, I would not be surprised if the Redbirds shock the world again, man. I mean, how do you count out a team, coach, that went to Fargo through 5 interceptions and still find a way to
Still
beat
won.
North Dakota State?
And still won. And still
Can't
won.
count them out.
And that's funny. So we'll speed through because right there I had it. What would be your game notes? And you just flow right into them. So we'll leave the game notes right there. That's a man that knows his stuff. But you also hit another point that I wanted to bring up as we get into the show. Uh, Illinois State having all those seniors, you know what I mean? And in the way that college football flows now, how are they able to have that, keep those guys there? And now Montana State is going to be faced with the coaching, the possible flights out as soon as this game's over. Um, just in a short form, how do FCS powerhouses like these two teams, other FCS programs, I mean, how do they compete? B, I mean, I don't think you can, but how do they compete to keep that sophomore laden team that they have? How do they get them back to be juniors?
I mean, I think one, it starts with the relationships you build when you recruit them. It's funny. Today I dropped a kind of like a recruiting roster construction breakdown of both these teams. And the one thing that they both did really well, coach, is they prioritized in-state recruiting. They got a ton of players that are from the area in which that school is. Like Montana State in particular, 40 players come from the state of Montana on the roster, 13 from Bozeman, which is the city that Montana State is in. A bunch of those guys, coach, are legacy recruits, had parents that played on Montana State's team that competed for conference titles, that competed for national titles, and they're all significant contributors like Paul Brock, Kenneth Iden, two All-American defensive linemen, Taco and Caden Dowler. Both of those guys have been huge. 16 of their 30-ish to 40-ish significant contributors are from Montana, coach. And so I think that's the first thing is, man, these guys want to be there. And I think for Illinois State, what's insane, coach, over 50 players are in-state prospects. 15 of their significant contributors are in-state guys, and two of them came from the high school ranks. I talk about Daniel Sopkowitz being a top NFL prospect. Coach, he's already the all-time leader in career receptions and receiving touchdowns. Only needs 58 yards on Monday night to be the all-time leading in receiving yards. A massive in-state keep. Todd Niekamp has been an All-American coach every single year he's played.
Yeah,
they kept him
that's
somehow.
insane.
He's a junior now.
That's
And
insane.
so I think it's finding guys who want to be there, right? And want to continue their career there. And I do think that you're going to lose. You can't keep everybody. And I think that's something that needs to be said, right? And you can't keep everyone. And what I mean by that is you're going to lose one or two guys, maybe five guys throughout your roster every year. Someone's going to find a better opportunity. Someone's going to be spotted because of playing time. Think they should be making more money. You never know the financial situation behind the scenes for these kids' families. But coach, can you keep enough of the core, enough of the nucleus of your culture to continue that? So let's just, I mean, if you take where you were at the past few years, coach, yeah, you might lose a Malachi Bailey on the defensive line, but can you bring back your two top linebackers? Can you bring back three of the five starters in the secondary? Can you bring back three of the five offensive linemen? Can you bring back your quarterback? Just picking and choosing and bringing guys back in key spots could be big, right? You look at Illinois State. Tommy Rittenhouse has come back. He's a senior now. They have a senior-laden running back room. Daniel Sopkowitz is back. Their offensive line is, I think, 4 out of the 5 are upperclassmen. Defensive line, they had to go to the portal. But, Coach, before the year, both of these teams had to replace their entire secondary. Every starter in both secondaries. Montana State lost 5 starters. Illinois State runs a 4-man defensive backfield. They lost all 4 starters. What's been interesting, Coach, is they kind of they've reloaded in very, very different ways because they did lose some guys to graduation. They did lose some guys to the transfer portal. Montana State has 7 underclassmen that are playing key roles in the secondary. Seth Johnson, Carson Williams, Jace McMillan, Coulter, all redshirt freshmen or true freshman coach that are starting and playing key minutes. Hayden Gray and Taki at safety are sophomores. They were rotational guys last year. The only transfer in the secondary, coach, is a JUCO safety, Bryant Meredith, who started his career in NAU and went to Fullerton out in California. But when you look at Illinois State, they go and get Shadwell Kuba from the transfer portal. They go get Lashavian Brown from Hutch, a place you're very familiar with. A kid from Alabama, went to Hutch Community College. Now he's at Illinois State.
I lost him to them.
Coach, he's second on the team with 91 tackles, man. A key contributor for this team. But then what do? You tie that in with the guys you could keep, Coach. Jack Dwyer and Cam Wilson are multi-year players for the Redbirds. They're both starting corners. You add them to redshirt freshmen and CJ Richard and Dorian Dubose, who have been in your program developing. So the best way to put it is, because you're not going to be able to keep everyone, but can you interweave the guys you can keep with some guys that you can bring in from the portal? Because I think people get caught up in the portal, thinking the portal swings one way for FCS. That's not always true. The door swings back around when January opens, and you can replace some of these guys. I think the real key here is, Coach, when you look at keeping this sophomore, this young Montana State team in, you're going to lose 1 or 2 guys, but can you keep the key pieces and replace them with guys that fit the culture and that, and I guess can build that chemistry that and continue and have some continuity with that chemistry with the guys that left. And I think that's really the key here. It's not trying to keep everybody, Coach. It's trying to keep the right people, and that's the hard part.
And I think the other part of it is as well, and you kind of hit it with the culture. We have a lot of kids that are just hitting the portal with nowhere to go. They hadn't talked to Blue Bloods University. They hadn't talked to Timothy State. They're just hitting the portal, hoping and wishing that somebody sees them and that they get an opportunity. But I think when you're in those type of programs, I don't think those kids that are program kids, which you've got to have, I don't think they are hoping and wishing, because I think, like you said, being from Montana, I think it's either one or two ways that you want to go. You either want to go to the team that's in the championship that we're talking about, or to the other state school. So it's not like I'm getting out of here hoping that leaving Miami, Florida State, Central Florida hits me up, or UF hits me up. And I think that's another thing, and that was a key point you hit. Uh, Program kids, culture, and you've got to be able to build it. You can't talk about it. You got to be able to have it. And the kid from Hutch, uh, that I say I lost it to him, but I can mention it. I can mention it now because neither him nor me work at the place I was at. But I couldn't get Derek Welch to go on him. So Welch, here's to you, brother. I told you that kid was a baller, but I couldn't get him to go on him. But that's a whole nother story. But B, as we move on, man, in the show, the hiring of head coaches at every level. Um, would you say in all your time of football, would you say this has been the craziest?
Yeah,
This is the
I
craziest
think
that
so.
I can remember. Um,
Yeah, especially at like the P4 level, man. Like it's been madness up there. I mean, like you look at the amount of SEC jobs alone that have come up in Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Ole Miss, LSU. I mean, it's unbelievable, man. Like how many SEC jobs had to be filled, and then you add that in with the Michigan debacle and UCLA and Penn State and Virginia Tech. It's like God. I mean, they just can't keep up with it all.
yeah, and I've never seen it as crazy as it has been this year. And one of the craziest things is, I have two. Uh, you get let go from Blue Bloods University, game 5 or whatever, and then you're hired by Timothy State by week 8. Like what? What are we doing? That, and then I told Bailey, a guy I do another show with. I told Bailey, I said, you can almost bet your bottom dollar. And I told him, Coach Whittingham is not walking away from college football at this point. There's a reason he's retiring. And I would not put it past the fact that someone from Michigan reached out, and lo and behold, I need to go get some lottery numbers tonight. Who's the new Michigan coach? You know what I mean? So, and then I think, and you correct me if you're wrong, if I'm wrong, or if you have a different thought, but I think all of that, when you see all of that at the P4 level, I think that puts it in the mind of the lower level ADs. When I say lower level, I mean under, not dissing anybody, but saying, group of 5, G5, FCS, G2. I think it puts in their mind that they need to make a change too. And I think it becomes a trickle down. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's trying to say this, I guess, more politically correct, but there's some ADs at the FCS level that think their school is bigger than it is. And they're like, "Man, we can operate like Ole Miss or Auburn or Florida." It's like, "No, no, probably shouldn't be so quick to pull the trigger and pay all these buyouts and just think it." Because I always tell people like, "Yes, could the grass be greener?" Yeah, potentially. Like you could fire a coach and then, man, guess what? You could hire the next whoever you want to. I mean, you could have the next Jim Tressel at the FCS level and go win 4 national championships. But you also could fire your head coach and it'd be the next Mike Shula. And next thing you know, you got a program like Alabama who is in the garbage can. And it takes firing him and going to get like a Nick Saban at one point to really resurrect that program. I just think it's so much trickier, man. It's funny, coach, because covering both sides, especially at the FCS level, man, we talk about hot seats and hiring and firing so much with SWAC football. Coach, I can't like go listen to any FCS podcast. No one has those conversations because no one's really sure if anyone has the money to fire anybody. And it's so weird, right? Where I think there's a handful of fan bases that are so quick to get people up out of there, And I do wonder if some of these hires that people are making are going to work. And I would say this: I would be hesitant to fire someone outside of a handful of coaches who have really underperformed. Like I had no problem with I mean, who like Connell Maynor, like I think it was he run his course at Alabama A&M. I was okay with them um to get rid of him. I look at James Colsey, things have just kind of fallen off the rails. He never really had the support to start with. I was okay with them making a move, but then man, there's just some other ones where I'm just like, I guess, like I guess that makes sense, but if you don't have a clear replacement, making a move like that is extremely risky. And I think a lot of these ADs and fans, to a point, like I just think they missed the point of coaching hires are never guaranteed. Like you can make a good hire on paper, coach, but behind the scenes, does it fit? What's the relationship with the AD like? What's the funding like? What's the support like? Does he mesh with the culture of the program? Does he mesh with the surrounding city? Does he have recruiting ties to that area? There's so many other things to consider other than on paper, is this guy a good coach? Because I do think there's been a coach, because especially you probably know this better than anyone. There's a lot of good coaches who have not been successful head coaches.
No doubt.
Lot,
No doubt.
lots of guys where if you get them up on the whiteboard, they'd run circles around some of these quote unquote good coaches, but they lack another quality that isn't present, in I guess the media space that you don't find out unless you get behind the scenes. So I think it's a risky game, man. It's like playing the lottery. You can make all the right moves, coach. You could study all the probabilities, all the odds. Listen, you could count cards. Sometimes, man, like you just don't have the luck, man, and you fall just short.
Go play that money, whether it's $1 or $100, and don't hit two numbers on any ticket. You know what I mean? But I think in my thought process with that, I think it kind of unless there's just something under the table happening as far as breach of contract, some type of rule, something that can't be resolved, or a legal matter. I think we are a little quick to pull that trigger. You know what I mean? And I think back to a program that's here recently gotten off the mat, and I know the AD that's there now wasn't the AD then, but Coach Kamaji at Jackson State years ago had it really rolling. And after a championship game, uh, he's replaced, and it took years for them to get back right. You know what I mean, as far as that goes. So to your point on that, it sounds good, but your next move you may feel is your best move, and that ain't it. You know what I mean? And then when you're talking about that at that level, as we are talking about it, I think you have to really do your homework as to what it is that you're really wanting. You know what I mean? Are you wanting somebody that's going to be a coach? Or are you wanting somebody that's going to be a CEO, figurehead, fundraiser, however you want to put that for your program? And I think, once you understand that, once your fan base understand that, then okay, you can go ahead and you can rock with it. But I think too many times we want all of it, and you don't get all of it all the time. That just does not, that's not how it happens. It's not guaranteed to make a coaching change and you're going to be automatically good. That's just not how it is. um as we get into the show, B, I want to get your thoughts on this. And not to beat a dead horse, but as we talk about the state of college football, and from the transfer portal to how long the season has become, all of that, right? I think the biggest issue facing college football, college athletics now, is what I call the world of free agency, right? Even in professional sports, be not there's never a time when LeBron James can become a free agent every year. There's never a time that Cooper Flag is going to be able to pick his team at the end of every season. That's just not how it works. But it somehow found its way to the world of college athletics. And, I just want to get your thoughts on that, man, is like, how how do we combat that? Because I was watching a game this past week here, college football, where they were talking about a certain player, and he had been to four schools. He had been to four schools. And, four schools in 5 years, if you think about that, is the equivalent of playing for the Yankees, the Braves, Milwaukee, the Mets, and now you are now playing with the Marlins. That is the biggest issue. And again, I'm just putting you up in front of the committee in Indy where the NCAA headquarters are located. What would you tell them, or how do you fix this world of free agency? Because it just doesn't make sense.
I mean,
And I'm
good
not even
Lord.
talking about the dollars that they get. I'm just talking about I'm playing here for 6 months, and then I'm playing there the next 6 months. Uh, you know, what are you telling them?
I mean, listen, I think, and I know it's probably going to be a very unpopular opinion when I say this, but I think it starts with limiting the amount of times a kid can enter the portal. And I know people cringe hearing that. I think the one transfer portal rule is great. You got one time. Like, listen, you technically get two shots. You could commit somewhere, then you could transfer freely, and then you got to sit out, man. Like that's just life. And I think you keep the exception coach because let's keep all things fair. If Coach Fred's a head coach at Leroy State University and you decide to go take a job at Frederick State University, then guess what? Those players can have another free transfer. You get to leave if the coach leaves. Let's keep it fair because coaches aren't restricted. But this whole like when I'm gonna play for 7 different college football programs in 7 different years. No, we got to end that because at some point, there's no chance that kid's ever getting a degree. There's no chance progress to degree is ever keeping up. It can't. It literally cannot happen. And I do think that it one protects the kids from just making bad decisions, chasing the bag. And I think getting paid is a good thing. And at the end of the day, if you're at a P4 program coach, you're not just getting NIL deals, you're getting rev share now. And so you're getting paid, and a lot of those kids are getting cost of attendance and stipends and all kind of other stuff. So they're getting paid well if you play at any P4. But at the same time, man, like this unlimited transfer portal rule and NIL being unlimited, I just think has created just madness. And the other thing is too, can we just open the portal when the season ends? Like, why are we having
Officially
the portal?
ends.
Yeah, like officially ends. Like a week after the national championship, open it for 15 days like we have it, close it up and leave it at that. The fact the portal opens during the season is insane. Why are we having teams and players and coaches? Because I've talked to players who have opted out of bowl games, and other media people have too. A lot of these kids feel like they have to transfer, even though they want to stay with their team coach. Because if you don't get into the portal quick enough, coach, you lose offers, right? Like, listen, you've recruited players out of the portal. If if you're an assistant coach somewhere and coach so and so tells you, Coach Fredman, we only got 2 spots for a wide receiver on this roster.
Mm,
Well, coach, you might really, really want that kid at NDSU, right? But man, he's playing in the national championship, so he waits to enter the portal. Well, he might be your number one, but if your number two and number four receiver commits before your wide receiver one hits the portal, guess what?
nice.
Coach Fred ain't got the money for wide receiver one now. And so I think it's putting the kids in a bad position. And if all these people are going to lie, because this is the thing that really aggravates me is that everyone acts like it's all about the kids and the players, right? Well, if it was really about the kids and the players, you'd be for putting guardrails to protect the players in, but they're not for that. They're just for the chaos of it all, and they think that's good for the kids, which is completely wrong. And I think putting the transfer portal after the season helps the kids because it doesn't put them in an impossible situation to decide whether they want to compete for their championship and end the season with their teammates, or enter the portal because they absolutely have to. Because, coach, I don't look at it from the starter perspective, right? The starting quarterback at Ohio State's good enough where if he wants to transfer, he can wait. Because guess what? Teams are going to wait on a guy like that. But
Mhm.
you know who they're not going to wait on? The fourth string running back. And even though the fourth string running back might play a key role on special teams, coach, he can't afford to wait and go play special teams for 3 weeks, missing out on a potential opportunity to transfer to a G5 program where he's going to be the starter. And that's the kid that I'm most worried about in this whole process.
And I think that's the part that gets tricky, because then this is where the agents, which is wild to me. I don't know if you saw those Twitter posts where the kids are saying, "Hey, contact my
Yep.
Blue Bloods agency for film or for more information," and I'm just like, that can't be legal. That can't be legal in college football, but obviously it is, because everybody's doing it. But I think there's got to be, like you said, guardrails, and then I think the universities have got to put up guardrails as well, because, and I understand, and this is information that was, third hand given to me or whatever, so I'm just saying allegedly, APR is about to go away. I think it has to, because
Yeah.
there's no way schools aren't taking hits to the point to where everybody's going to be on probation for something, because they're not going to have the APR, because there's no way you're going to be able to keep up with where Zach is going. If Zach left you and then Zach goes to Timothy, then he leaves Timothy, then he comes to Fred, and he leaves Fred. There's no way to figure out who's responsible for losing these points for the APR. So I think the universities have all got to come together. And my last thing on the rundown that I wanted to get your opinion on, uh, which all circles back to everything we talked about, even with the playoffs, and I think it's going to happen because of the James Madison and the Tulane, right? What's going to happen to college athletics when the G4, all the big boys, decide that they're going to break away, and now you're left with the G5, you're left with FCS, you're left with Division Two? What's going to happen to college athletics? Because that's where we're heading. And I
Yeah.
say that because everybody was up in arms about the two at large getting in and all of that. There's going to be a time where the SEC and those Texas boys are going to say, we're going to take our ball and our money, and we're going to go over here. Notre Dame, if you want to come, you can come, but we're going to have our own deal over here. And then I think that's going to be a huge issue. But what are your thoughts on that? Because I believe that's going to happen. I don't know how we don't have that happen here in the next 3 years. What are your thoughts on that?
God, there's so many layers here. So let's break them down one at a time. One, it's going to happen sooner rather than later, man. But where does it stop? Because everyone just assumes that the SEC and Big Ten are going to include the other two conferences.
Right.
Why do people think that?
And
Because
I think that because they're the next money getters, if that makes sense.
they are. But you know what the SEC and Big Ten would really like to do? Cut out the other little guys that are also P4. Cincinnati, you can't come with us. BYU, you can't come with us. Utah, you can't come with us. It's really going to be a group of about 30-ish programs that I think are going to make the cut at the end of the day. And I don't even know if that's it is going to be really just two conferences that pull away, I think. And I think that's really what because where do you draw the line? How much money do you have to make to qualify to get in this club? And I think that's a question that we have to address. But then also too, it's one of the big reasons why I think all the programs that rushed up to G5 for a quick buck are going to be left looking dumb. Is that, and listen, I grew up a Jacksonville State fan, so I'm talking about my own program here. Jacksonville State,
Mm,
you're going to be left holding an empty bag here in a minute, right?
mm.
What do you do now? Because now you're what if that split happens And let's just say they don't lock everyone out, right? They say, listen, if you can get to this financial amount, you can come. You know what that means? The Tulanes are going to find a way to get there. The BYUs, the Boise States, those top G5 programs, they're going to find a way to get there and force their way in. Maybe like a Coastal Carolina or a Liberty or someone like that, a Memphis. They're going to force their way there. But coach, you're going to be left sitting here saying, "Damn, this looks real familiar, right?" Like go back and look at like 1979 FCS landscape. It's going to be looking real familiar here in a few years if that split ever happens. And then here's the next question that has to be answered. Do you keep it G5 FCS D2? Or do you say, listen, this new subdivision is going to be the new FCS? And so we'll let all the teams in FCS and all the remaining G5 teams just combine. If you can't financially support it, man, take your butt to D2. You don't belong here. Sorry, UAPB. Sorry, Stetson. Sorry, Portland State. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, sorry, Texas Southern. You can't be here. You don't financially belong in this bracket. Like all the Pioneer League schools, a
Ooh,
handful of the NEC schools, a ton of SWAC schools, some of the MEAC schools. Sorry, Delaware State, you don't belong here either. I mean, some of the Southland schools. Sorry, Northwestern State can't compete here. And then what happens? Like, can D2 support that, or do you make three subdivisions, Coach? You have the new P4 or G5. You have FCS. You have FCS 2.0, and then you have D2. That's all the decisions that have to be made. And then what happens to the playoff system, right? Because a big reason a lot of these programs moved up reportedly from people from anti FCS playoff people is the playoffs don't make any money. No one watches the FCS playoffs. Well, what makes you think anyone's watching a G5 playoff if they don't watch the FCS playoffs, if that's your argument? It's
same
all the
teams.
same teams. So who's
Same
funding
teams.
it? Does the NCAA have the same setup where they're stealing money from these universities? I don't know. Is that financially uh, can you survive like that? I don't know. So there's just a ton of questions when you get to this potential P4 split that you have to answer is who goes, who stays, and what do you do with the remainings?
I don't think it's if, I think it's when. Um, because again, those guys are gonna want to take their money and their ball and go home, and make another home rather. And it's gonna be, as I was saying in the opening, when you were getting ready to come on, um, you look back to the pandemic, which really wasn't that far ago, long ago, right? And it was a completely different college football world. And here we are getting ready to go into 2026, and it don't even look remotely close to what it did back then. You know what I mean?
No.
At any level. And last subject, man, as we bring the show to a close, uh, as I said, I've been watching bowl season. I've tried to catch every game I possibly could catch. Is there bowl season next year?
Mm. Ooh, you want to talk about making a rash jump to FBS for the bowl game payouts, man. Jacksonville State, Sam Houston, James Madison going to be sick if those go away. Because those bowl
And,
payouts are huge, right?
and here's why I asked you the question. If you go and you look, and I know you have all this rundown right there on your computer. If you go and look, the viewership is not declining. It's on a slope, right? For except for the I don't want to say name brand bowls, but bowls that have teams that are kind of playing within their home state type thing, right? So is Bad Boy Motors going to want to continue to put that money in the Bad Boy Motors Pinstripe Bowl, if they're not getting a viewership, if they're not getting anything back from it? Um, and I think a lot of companies are going to have that review at the end of this bowl season. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, I don't know if they want to continue to just sink that. And that's why I say, and that's another show. That's why I say NIL is not going to be able to sustain the way it's going. Because I get Zach to give me $40 million to my NIL, and the only thing he gets is a a bowl ring in return. How long is that going to happen? You know, because he could find other tax write-offs that are going to benefit him more so than just saying, "Hey, I just gave Texas INT $30 million to build out their roster." You know what I mean? So that's why I say that. So again, the original question to you: is there a bowl season the way we know it next year?
No, they're gonna cut a bunch of these bowls, man. They're pointless. Like, and this is why I laugh so hard because again, I hate it so much. Like, are the FCS playoffs perfect? No, man. There's a lot they got to fix, and especially financially in terms of giving these teams some payouts. But playing for a championship, coach, piques the interest way more than playing for a meaningless bowl game, unless you have some good teams in it, right? Like, I think the bowl games, coach, where you see those 9-3, 10-2 teams play, man, I'll enjoy that, right? I can get behind that. Like, I think Clemson and someone's playing right now. Like, I can deal with like those name brand teams, but coach, are you watching the Bahamas Bowl between like a freaking 6-6 New Mexico team and Bowling Green? Hell no, no one's watching that. Does anyone want to see Air Force play? I mean, throw someone out there, Eastern Michigan? No, I'm good. I'm a football fan. I'll watch it, but man, I have no interest. But you look at some of these viewership, like even this is from last year, right? Because I don't think a lot of the bowl game views have came out for this year outside of like the Celebration Bowl, but the Montana State playoff game last week, coach, outdrew the Bahamas Bowl last year, the Frisco Bowl last year, the 68 Ventures Bowl last year, the Hawaii Bowl last year, the Wasabi Fenway Bowl last year, the Sports Bowl last year, the Armed Forces Bowl last year, and the Celebration Bowl both the past 2 years. I
Right.
mean, I really do I really do think people are just kind of over like this whole bowl setup, and I don't blame them. I kind of am too. I think there's way too many bowl games. And I don't think teams should get rewarded for finishing 6-6. Like, it doesn't interest me at all. And I do think lessening the bowl games is a good thing. I really do. And I never thought I'd be saying that as a college football fan, because I do love more football. But we've gotten to the point where, coach, we don't even have enough 6-6 teams to fill all these bowl slots. So we're letting sub 500 teams play for bowl games. Who wants to watch a 5-7 team play for anything? I personally don't. And so I do think reducing the amount of bowl games we have each year would be a good thing.
And I'm only agreeing with you to the point that because you know as I watched the game last night, a team played and everybody in their secondary either opted out or was
Yeah.
you know, said I'm not going to play. And then into that, to me that's disheartening because we grew up watching this, like you said, right? Um, and it meant something. You know, Coach Bowden taking FSU to 28 straight bowl games, that meant something to that program. And now I don't know if it means anything to programs to be able to go to bowl games. You know what I mean? That used to be a pride thing within your program, and I don't know where we lost that or how we lost that, but I feel like it's lost. And it might not be. But anytime you're looking at starters that they're talking about on TV that have opted out, um, not wanting to play for whatever their reason is, I think that becomes disheartening. And then I think, if Frederick INC is a major sponsor for this bowl, and Zach McKinnell is the number one player for said team, there's only so many times I'm going to put my money in there if Zach is not going to play. That just doesn't make sense to me. Um, but, you know, no one asked me, but I just decided to tell everybody. So we'll do it
It,
at that, man.
you want to know what made the bowl season so special? Like, you keep talking about the old days of um like how much the bowl games used to mean, because you remember there weren't that many bowl games back in the day.
No,
Like, you had like the main few, which made it impressive that you had a streak of bowl appearances, because you know what that mean? That probably meant you went you had 8, 9 wins, right? Because that's what it took to get into bowl games. Because the reason it's not special anymore Coach, I can go 5-7 and get you a bowl game, man. Like, does that make me a good coach? I don't think so. Are you promoting me because I went 6-7 and it's 4 straight years? But hey, coach, hey, we have 3 Hawaii Bowl rings and a GoDaddy Bowl ring. Well, we happy with that as an AD?
Hey, Mr. AD, man, we need to come back to the table. We need to come back to the table. Hey, man, between the two, I think we got close to 100 listeners between the two that I could actually see. Want to say thank you guys, man. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe button. We're right at an hour B, which is all we wanted to get out. Sharpen my interview skills for 2026 because Blue Bloods, the Common Man, we are coming. We have some new stuff on the horizon, a couple new shows on the horizon. One of my friends who's being a Jack A just text me and like, hey, you got to take down that active. No, I'm still active. I just can't announce right now, but yeah, your boy has a job. So yes, I am still the only active coach on YouTube, which is why I didn't mention any underclassmen by name, just because that's how you have to do it nowadays. But we got some stuff coming down, man. Again, want to say thank you. Make sure you go like this page. Make sure you go like the Blue Bloods and join in with us, man. Again, Zach, man, thank you for being the interviewee and going forward, man. And look forward to talking with you later this week,
For
hooking
sure,
up
man.
next week. Looking for a lot of fun in a new location, man. How you feeling about the new location?
I'm excited. The one thing I'm a little bit worried about, man, it's a big city, man. So I'm hoping they invest it and they get behind this game like Frisco did. But I'm excited, man. I think both fan bases are going to turn out, man. We're going to have a blast down on Broadway in Nashville, man.
Man, I can't wait. Hopefully the weather is not like it has been the last
It's
two
good.
games we've been to.
I heard it's gonna be a little cold. Not as cold as last year, but probably in like the
Holy,
50s.
holy cow. Man, last year had me looking for the chicken noodle soup on the sideline, man. It was freezing out there. But again, man, I want to say thank you guys. Make sure you go hit both channels up. Be on the lookout. Set the notifications so you know when we coming your way. And for my guy Zach of the Blue Bloods, for me, Twin P Whiskey, thank you again. We are out.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Mike Pouncey, former center for the Miami Dolphins. This is my brother Marquise Pouncey, former center for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
What's up, everyone?
This is our new cigar line. It's called Twin P. It also matches well with our bourbon whiskey. It's called Twin P as well. So if you like to smoke cigars and like to drink whiskey, I advise you get both.